Hello everyone, my name is Alice Ye and I'm currently a summer software engineering intern for Udacity. And I'm here to share with you my story of how I'm starting out and still doing that right now. So for a little bit of background, I graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, and like most college students at the time, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I interned for Microsoft as a program manager in the live search UX team. Ended up doing very well and somehow got a full-time offer out of that. So when you're a college student, getting a full-time offer is pretty awesome, even if you only have the haziest idea of what you want to do with it. And that was me. Therefore, I started my post-college career as a program manager. Then I spent the last 2 years actually in Greater China working for a startup called Richie as a product manager. And I spearheaded an initiative that took the company to TechCrunch Disrupt Beijing 2011 as a Battlefield finalist. So all of this sounds, pretty good right now, pretty good career. Why the change? Then the thing is, I still enjoy being a PM. I was good at it, I still enjoy doing it, but I was increasingly drawn to the software engineering role. Some of my most intellectually fulfilling moments came when I was talking to senior devs, participating, listening, just being a fly on the wall in those software architectural systems discussions. And the more I was working with software engineers all the time, the more I wanted to be one of them, to be the ones building out those features and products that I used to just spec out on paper. And so that was the first reason. The second reason was actually sort of a macro timing. The last 10 months or so, I would say, there's been a lot of interest in educational-related startups. And I think about technology often, and my evolving view is that technology used to solve large-scale problems, especially the ones in education, has an incredibly empowering motivation behind it. And if I had been one of those software engineers to be able to build out some of those stuff, that would have been really cool. So these were the two big reasons. As a PM, I learned a lot of stuff sort of ad hoc way, picking up some concepts here, concepts I've never even heard of, frameworks and acronyms, and goodness, there's a lot of acronyms all the time, confusing acronyms too. But then I was starting to think, I really need a little bit more structure in my learning. I wanted to really dig deep and understand it not just as a matrix of the newest buzzwords, but to understand software engineering at an engineering level and by extension at a computer science level too. There were areas I knew I wanted to learn more about, and the areas I knew I was okay with not knowing as much. So thus, I actually applied to several master's CS programs, and when I found out I got into Stanford, I started looking for opportunities in the area, which leads me here today, talking to all of you. It's very humbling, actually, being asked to speak today about my experience. And the thing is, software engineering is actually a terrifying profession from the outset. Just like what Lynn said, there were many, many hours of isolated debugging, looking at lines and lines of error codes that don't make sense, and there are error codes of code that I wrote, first of all, so that made it very depressing. Forum posts that are supposed to help you, but really don't make any more sense. Tutorials that profess to teach you X in X days, in Y days, and really they just make you more confused in the end. I think a lot of you can relate to that. But there are those moments in the middle when something works, and you know why it works, which is the best part, that you can explain to someone why it works. Those are positively enlightening. And that is until something breaks again, and then you just go back. So I was joking with my mentor earlier that there's a lot of valleys of sorrows before you get like a moment of epiphany, and then it's back to valleys of sorrows again. And through these experiences, even though it's been a lot of isolation, there's a huge part of learning from others and with others. Particular to me, one, my mentor at work, Alvin, who's standing back there in the background, has been very helpful in explaining very patiently a lot of stuff that I just didn't get before. And two, late night studying with a kick-ass antenna engineering friend doing C, doing that while I was trying to figure out how Python worked in web development. Those were really good memories, and figuring out some really, maybe very basic stuff that seasoned programmers would know, but that has helped me tremendously with my learning. And lastly, learning how other people learn gives you the context to know how you can apply your own learning, which is one of the reasons I strongly believe that Udacity is having a huge impact. And it's those shared experiences that I've been chaining together, and that I call it my own learning chain, and that every day I'm lengthening it a bit longer, day by day. So in a nutshell, that's my story. Thank you for having me.